Assalamu alaikum, dear friends. Today I'm going to share my views about the role of left in Pakistani Federation regarding their dual stance about the national question of the constituent entities of this federation in comparison with the national question in Punjab. Dear friends, though I spoke my mind in my previous audio post, yet I think there are a number of statements and events which, if are brought in your notice, it would be helpful for you to distinguish between good and evil. Let me start from the past, when in 1971, I guess, the democratically elected government of Ataullah Mangal was toppled, and by Bhutto Sahab, and an army operation was launched against Baloch. So Baloch started their armed struggle by scattering themselves in a guerrilla type war on their mountains and the deserted regions of the vast land of Balochistan. In those days, some of the guys who were based in Punjab and they were students at that time studying in Europe, they were inclined towards the socialism or communism of the then USSR, who was in a Cold War state with the other superpower, the capitalists had America. So during that period, those people who were associated with the left struggle, they were helped by the USSR directly or indirectly. Anyhow, these four gentlemen, they in the comrades' masks shifted themselves to Balochistan and then joined the armed struggle, Baloch armed struggle, directly or indirectly. Najam Sethi and Ahmad Rashid, they stayed in Karachi, and they are said to have run some sort of media campaign in order to pave the masses' sympathies for the Baloch nationalism. And the other two, Rashid Rahman and Asad Rahman, they learned Balochi and they also shifted with the Mari tribe and the Kohlu area of Balochistan, and they practically took part in some of the ambushes, as is shared by themselves in some of their interviews. So my point is this, that these four gentlemen left their own motherland helplessly, where their first and foremost need was there to bring some nationalistic or class change, for which they apparently joined the Baloch movement, Baloch national class movement. So this is the major yardstick on which one could be judged, that if one claims by his words or acts that he wants to bring change in any region of the world other than his own motherland, his claim would be assumed false by a layman, because everybody knows that the charity starts at home first, and the home, which is the region which is said to be their home, I mean Punjab, that has been, the people there have been living in a quite deprived and pathetic state, where anybody from that region should start his endeavor from the same region. If his endeavor starts from Samarkand or Bukhara or the St. Petersburg or Afghanistan or like in Balochistan, that individual would be a suspected one, because how could one leave his or her own mother in helpless state in order to help the others' mothers? That's why the successive events or the following events, they prove that these all people, having sought the amnesty like other Baloch nationalists, lived a very luxurious life, particularly as we know that Najam Sethi and Ahmad Rashid, they joined journalism, and now they have been the part of, establishment and could be seen in the power corridors. And Asad Rahman, who was given the title of Chakar Khan, a very respected character in Baloch history, he died in Lahore, and he spent a very serene life In one of his interviews before his death, I guess 1.5 years ago, or more than that, to a Baloch journalist, Agha Malik Siraj, I guess his name is. He expressed his suspicion about Najam Sethi's role during that guerrilla struggle. And one could read the reply of this Asad Rahman when he says that Najam Sethi's role was quite astonishing when he was flying in a helicopter, pretending to be visiting, to be with some consultants who wanted to do some sort of survey in Balochistan, and was, apprehended by the, that agencies, having been spotted by them through some leaks. So, though he gave him a benefit of doubt, because if Najam Sethi was directly, blamed by the said gentleman, Asad Rahman, some sort of, war, or you may call it acrimony, would develop among both, and the inside story might have exposed before masses. So their holy comrade characters would definitely get, unearthed, and whatever they earned in terms of fame and, publicity, that could have been damaged. So these shrewd comrades, they never indulged themselves in against each other. So that's why I think he gave him a benefit of doubt, and despite showing some, concerns about the role of Najam Sethi, his counterpart. So this is a very, strange role of these leftists from Punjab, who stabbed in the back of Baloch national struggle in 70s, when their own mother direly needed their help, and they left her, in a desperate condition. Okay, now if we talk about the contemporary fraternity of these senior or veteran leftists, Tariq Fateh is one of them, who claims himself exactly like those, notorious London group guys who did the same when he abandoned the motherland Punjab and this federation after developing some sort of personal issues with the during his service with his department or owners, and he got an opportunity to settle himself in, firstly I guess in at Saudi Arabia, then later on he settled in Canada, and nowadays he's called the so-called supporter of Baloch national struggle. Again, I must say here that Baloch are quite innocent. I mean, those genuine nationalists who have been struggling, or the contemporary or present generation is struggling for their fundamental rights. They are quite innocent in a sense that they blindly believe whosoever favors or supports their rights on international level. They don't bother to see the track record of that individual, and particularly the yardstick which I described earlier, that one's character should be judged at his own home. If his own home suffers a lot and he claims himself to be the protagonist of some national struggle, it would be quite hilarious. So is the case of Tariq Fateh, and couple of days back we witnessed in a press conference where he rather sabotaged the Baloch point of view by indulging in some sort of some sort of fight with the journalists from Pakistan. So this would happen as long as people are blindly given the leading role by any nationalist groups to present their point of view. I am not supporting any particular individual or group. I am talking a principle here. My purpose is to share a principle, basic principle of judging one's role or one's character or one's loyalty, that if one is sincere with others or merely trying to deceive them. So this is a very simple but very effective way to sort out men out of boys. Okay, now some other comrades, like a Maoist who is based in Punjab and if I am not wrong, alive, who is called the pioneer of Maoism in this Pakistani Federation, and I'm talking about Professor Azizuddin, who wrote some of the books particularly about Punjab and other nationalities, and those books are quite informative. In one of those books is क्या हम इकट्ठे रह सकते हैं, gives a pretty comprehensive analysis of all the national or provincial entities of this federation and their role. I mean that those nationalistic entities' roles have been discussed in detail through their geographical, demographical, and historical, commentary. But I was told by some of my buddies that two chapters were included in the same book with the names of सराइकी कौमियत और सराइकी सूबे का सवाल एंड द सेकंड इज कौमी सवाल और उर्दू बोलने वाले महाजिर. These two chapters were included later on in the book in order to definitely appease the establishment people or the on block of UPites where I think Professor Azizuddin Saab belongs to. In Saraiki Qawmiyat or Saraiki National or Saraiki Province question chapter, in this chapter Professor Saab tried his utmost to prove a myth that Saraiki is some different nation having different language, culture and geography. Professor Saab has constructed his whole case on the basis of twists or fabrications with half-baked truths in which the history of Punjab has been distorted in such a manner which we could see on media or on social media and print electronic media, where no other person, particularly I'm talking about the social and I'm talking about the print and electronic media which is controlled by the state, where no other person having other opposite opinion is given opportunity to express the point of view of vast majority living in the land of 5 rivers. So Professor Saab got opportunity and got the same opportunity and attempted to tear apart the naturally integrated dialects of Punjabi by terming Multani or Derawali dialects as Saraiki. I mean the Saraiki dialect of Sindhi, which is in fact spoken in the Khairpur state of Upper Sindh. So Professor Saab followed the footpath of some of the pro-establishment journalists like Arshad Ahmed Haqqani, who freely propagated the same myth through their writings by painting the Multani and Derawali dialects of Punjabi with Saraiki And similarly, Professor Saab stamps Khwaja Ghulam Farid with as a Saraiki poet or Sufi by leaving other saints and Sufis or poets of classic Punjabi from Waris Shah to Shah Hussain and other Bab Farid and Sultan Bahu, Pir Meher Shah as Punjabi poets. I think Professor Saab didn't know that in the coming days his fraternity, I mean the journalists or writers of his opinion, like one of the leading pro-establishment journalists, the Baloch settler in Punjab, Nazir Laghari, who is the editor of Daily Jang, he crosses all the limits and stamps Waris Shah and Bab Farid as Saraiki as well, and even terms the Anayat Hussain Bhatti and his region as Saraiki region. So this is a contradiction, or you may call it a duality in the statements of these protagonists of Saraiki movement, the writers who themselves suffer with the conundrum where they have to proliferate a sheer lie just to divide the ancient society of any region for the loot and rule of their masters. And this social media is a blessing for the voiceless people or helpless people like us, where we could we could expose these people and tell the truth, share the truth with our innocent masses. So, Professor Saab, in the region of Punjab, where Punjabis live happily without any conflict among them, has tried to divide them on the ethnic and linguistic basis without giving a second thinking that even a very pedantic anthropologist or linguist can't distinguish or differentiate the integrated dialects, all the integrated dialects of Punjabi from Peshawar to Dera or otherwise, that where one dialect finishes and the other dialect starts. It is quite impossible and it is imperceptible for anyone to clearly distinguish the dialectical boundaries of Punjab, because those dialectical regions have been integrated with each other in such a beautiful natural way. Like in rainbow, the colors, all the 7 colors, they are present, they are merged in a rainbow. One cannot clearly mark the boundaries between all colors, as every color merges in the next color gradually and appears in a gradual manner, in such a beautiful gradual manner, that the regions, the regions couldn't be, demarcated, that sharply we could say that this is the region of red color or that is the region of violet color. Violet, indigo, blue, every color up to red, they are mixed in a beautiful way. In the same manner, the linguistic or dialectical entities, not only in Punjab but in the other national regions of this world, or in our neighbors like Sindh, in Balochistan, or in Pakhtunkhwa, they are merged in such a beautiful way that it is imperceptible for anyone to, separate them. So these, inhuman attempts have always been made to divide these natural beauties, naturally oriented beauties by such writers. But I wanted to share the duality of the same Professor Saab in the very next chapter, where he advises the Upeites not to abandon their Upeite language and culture. I mean Urdu or their associated Sadi culture. He narrates a new, the correct, I must say correct rule over here, that एक कौमियत बनने के लिए हर हालत में एक ही जुबान बोलना जरूरी नहीं. Yes, we do agree that it isn't imperative upon any nation to the components, the segments of any nation to speak the same language. Like in Baloch, we see that Brahui speaking, Balochi speaking, and Dehwari speaking, or the Khetrani speaking, and in the Lasi speaking. So the Baloch live happily, and not only they have been living happily, but everyone feels proud to be called himself as a Baloch, to be the part of great Baloch nation. Similar is the case in Sindh and Pakhtunkhwa, and even in Punjab. But in the case of Punjab, Professor Saab and the other writers of his fraternity try to divide the Punjab, the region of Punjab, on the basis of some other newly concocted dogmas or, principles, self-made principles. But here they are trying to, in this chapter, the Professor Saab tries to fit or apply a correct or universally applied rule on an illegitimately intruded herd of UPites who infiltrated in this region and occupied the urban regions of Sindh as well as Punjab, particularly Sindh, where they not only occupied those regions but tried to establish their hegemony by enforcing Urdu, and only Punjabis, they aligned with them. That is why Punjabis have always to face the music by the counterpart, neighboring nationalities of this federation. So this alignment of Punjabis with UPites give a clear edge to those UPites, to those racist UPites, to rule every individual nation of this, segment nation of this federation. So Professor Saab further writes that the UPites are a nation. If अगर मुहाजिर हर उस कौम में जहाँ वो मौजूद हैं घुल मिल जाए. Now he suggests that UPites should try to amalgamate with any native nation wherever they are settled. Now, how could outsiders, merge with the locals without assimilating with the sons of soils? Without owning their language and cultures, until and unless these outsiders literally own the language and cultures of the locals, they can't assimilate or merge among them. So Professor Saab, instead of giving this suggestion, asks or suggests the outsiders as well as the locals that they shouldn't stop or ask or demand to the outsiders to abandon their imported language and culture, and own the local languages and cultures, but his suggestion is completely opposite. And further, he warns the locals that they should try to utilize the experience and the skills of those outsiders if they want to dwell. So this is, a huge contradiction on the part of this comrade who has been settled in Punjab, and here he behaves or suggests Punjabis in a 360-degree angle in comparison with the other nationalities of Pakistan. So this is what I wanted to share with you all. Now I would like to divert your kind attention towards the Labor Day, which on 1st May recently we saw that, as usual, these comrades, and particularly the Hippocratic comrades in Punjab, they use the same Shaheed, the term, the purely religious term, or a term their opponents use. They try to capitalize. They always try to capitalize from this term by using it for those who were gunned down in Chicago, or the ones who struggled, who lost their lives while struggling for the socialist ideology. Now this, theocratic term is used, the Shaheed is used by all the comrades in Pakistan, and particularly in Punjab, without any hesitation, whether it is Maulana or Mufti Abid Hassan Manto, or like this Dr. Asim is there. They very, shamelessly, I must say, they use the same terms, knowing well that the fabric of Punjab society has been intoxicated through injecting the religious dogmas, which were created in the seminaries of UP, and were proliferated in the whole regions of Indian subcontinent, particularly in Pakistan and Punjab, where the society has been vertically divided on the basis of religion, as well as its further fragmentation has been occurring further on the basis of sects and so on and so forth. So this division after divisions, these divisions after divisions have been happening just because of the blind usage of those religious or and non-religious, dogmas which have been developed in the institutions based in UP, and the language through which those dogmas have been, taught, not only in religious but in the non-religious segments of the society. So, by and large, this society, particularly the Punjabi society, it is intoxicated with this religious, poison, which has nothing to do with the true spirit of Islam, that spirit in which no one is hated and people are not, they are not conquered but are win. They are won by the acts, by the character. So here these comrades, these opportunist comrades, they use their apparent opponent, counterparts, I would say, rather, their dogmas, their terms, shamelessly by applying on the people who fought and died for socialism, and no one is there to question them, that how dare they use the terms which are purely based upon the theocratic notions. Similarly, in the press conference which was addressed by the Awami Workers Party President Dr. Asim Sajjad, the clip of which was shared in the previous post, and its lengthy clip was watched later on by me when Shehzad Nasir shared it with me. So that clip has got two more contradictions. One is there again regarding the national question of Balochistan, Sindh and Pakhtunkhwa in comparison with the Punjab. Now Punjab has been divided into 3 or 4 further what should I call it? The provinces with the names of Saraiki, Punjab, Putwar, and the 4th chopped region of Punjab, which was included with the Pashtun belts by the British, that with the name of Hazara, or Hindko-speaking region. So that region, these 4 divisions we see only in Punjab, but rest of the national regions have been kept intact by these surkhas, these so-called comrades, knowing well enough that there would be an extreme backlash from those all national regions, because people there have been educated by their writers and nationalist activists, and they are quite sensitive and they are well aware about their national rights. So this is I mean, this is quite paradoxical when we see that these contemporary lot of ignorant lot of these comrades, they 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 find Punjab a sitting duck and try to divide its regions as per the whim of their masters. But on the other hand, the other nationalist regions, those are left just to carry on, or just to maintain the status quo. Now, I call them. You might be quite astonished that I call these contemporary comrades as ignorant ones. They are ignorant because they wrote Balochi for Baloch. Now, Balochi is an adjective and Baloch is a noun. Now, if anybody or any nation is addressed by their adjective rather noun, so it would be an absurd act on the part of the ones who are addressing. So the resentment of addressee would be legitimate one. That's why I call this lot an ignorant lot of these comrades in comparison with their veterans. At least their veterans had an idea about the national dynamics of the Pakistani Federation. Okay, now another very huge contradiction, we could see the same Awami Worker Party in Punjab, when they practically take part in the demonstrations in favor of the settlements of Afghans and Pathans in Islamabad, Pindi, without thinking that there is a huge, have-nots class live below the poverty lines in the land of 5 rivers, and which badly needs the attention and favor of these comrades, as well as the ones who pose themselves to be the supporters of working class. So these people, they just, if you see their, the demonstrations, one could easily see that more than 50% Pathans and outsiders are present among them, and they are trying to win their sympathies without thinking that their stance in the other national regions, and even in Gilgit-Baltistan, where one of their leaders, Baba Jan, whom I would appreciate and admire, that he stood for his own native people and openly and boldly declared an outsider as a trespasser, and he demanded the fundamental right of the locals, that they have every right to get the benefits from the resources of their region. So this is all which I wanted to share with you, my friends. uh, I'm not against any social communist or uh, Islamic or religious or other ideologies. My purpose of the whole talk is to uh, expose the faces of those opportunists who have been trying to uh, use certain ideologies for their own vested interests, and they have been rather maligning the name of the very ideologies for which they pose themselves to be to be standing with. So this is an effort from my side. Otherwise, we could find here the people like who are sound to be bit honest, like Dr. Lal Khan. In some of his writings, he has very well explained the and analyzed the national problems, the nation's problems or nationalistic problems of Pakistani Federation, and the dirty role of ruling and elite classes in his some of the writings. So this is all which I wanted to share with you. I would love to have your feedback and try to improve my next postings with these audio posts. Okay, bye.